Good afternoon. My name is Tanya Henderson and I am with Test Team, and I am here today to talk to you about this is the second release of the GP to BC, and what we're going to talk about today is the navigation between the two products. And I'm mainly going to focus on the homepage for navigation. So I'm going to do kind of a little bit of a agenda or slide on what you have in GP versus what you have in Business Central. And then we'll kind of get into the products, and I'll give you just a very brief overview of kind of the big differences in between those two products. So let's go ahead and head over to my laptop and we will take a look at both products. So this is what I was saying here, kind of our agenda to look at. So as you can see, the GP product and the BC product are, from looking at this slide, they're very similar. But when you get into the products, to me, they are very different. The first time I take somebody from the Dynamics GP environment and put them into Business Central, they're a little bit wowed or just overwhelmed, I guess, as you could say. And so really, I just want to break it down a little bit about some of the basic navigation pieces. I absolutely love the BC navigation functionality for being able to change your homepage or the entire product. It's also called personalization. And I do have a video out there about how to personalize in Business Central. So if you kind of want to dig in and get more about that, you can go look at that video. It was published a couple of months ago. And so, but this one, like I said, I'll just do kind of a high level overview of this. So of course, in GP versus Business Central, in GP, you have your home page. In Business Central, they'll call it kind of the profile page. So, just very similar, just different names. And a lot of times when I'm dealing with customers right now, I just kind of help basically be the interpreter for what they find in one product versus another. So in GP, when you log in, if you guys know, you log in, it's going to give you a role. You can customize your homepage. You can change company, you can change dates, you can do all of that stuff from kind of just your main homepage in Business or in GP. In Business Central, you kind of have to go into a My Settings area to do that. Not drastically different, but it is obviously a little bit of a different functionality. Whereas GP, you can kind of click on those links from just the main page. So in Business Central, kind of the main way to customize or get to some of those change settings is that My Settings area. And I'll show everybody that today when we're doing the demo. Another area in GP that I have always used are called quick links or shortcuts. A lot of those functionality, in my opinion, are probably underutilized. But in GP, you could actually set up your function keys to actually take you to places inside of GP. Like I said, almost nobody uses that, and it's a really great feature that I absolutely used to use all the time. In Business Central, you will have kind of some quick links like you have in GP, but you'll also have bookmarks. So I kind of relate them to a bookmark. There are a lot of function keys, kind of in Business Central as well. But in GP, it was very easy to be able to personalize those function keys. In BC, I'm not even sure if you can do that. So if anybody knows, they can kind of comment. But, like I said, bookmarks are a way to get to things quicker inside of Business Central versus maybe a quick link in GP. In GP, you could also set up reminders and tasks. In Business Central, you have some actions and activities and things that are kind of similar to that. You can also do a lot of comments in Business Central where you may not have that in GP. So kind of a little bit of a comparison, about those two features. You can, of course, on your homepage in GP have, your business analyzer, your Power BI links, your Connect. So you can take those off and put those back on. You can do the absolute same thing inside of Business Central. You do have a My Reports area where your scheduled reports will appear, and you can get into those, just basically click on them there. Whereas in GP, you kind of have your My Reports that you've saved to your My Reports area, and then you just basically run them from there. And BC, that's where your scheduled reports will show up. So other things there, just kind of like I said, basic navigation. You got Power BI on both desktops. So kind of, not totally, mind-blowing stuff here. But I do like to show that because a lot of customers, just use that homepage in GP. And I just kind of want to make sure that everybody understands there is also kind of that same page. It's just your profile page in Business Central. So let's go ahead and head into the product. We'll just do a quick demo and we'll kind of show you guys what's going on in both of those products. All right. And now my demo slide comes up. So here's both products here. So as you can see, Business Central is on the right, GP is on the left. Like I said, inside of GP, you have your kind of profile area, you have your blocks that you can pick up and move around, just kind of do a little bit of customization there. Don't forget you do have that customize this page up there in the right hand corner, and that's how I would say you're kind of customizing your homepage in GP. So in the homepage area in GP, of course, you're able to show some of the functionality or remove it by unchecking the box. You can also change, whether you want 1, 2, or 3 columns, you want your stack on your module areas like your purchasing and project and finance. You'll have the stack appear to the right, left, or bottom. So, just kind of, just a little bit of functionality there. And then of course, if you're wanting to change your role, just know if you change your role and you customize it to something else, anything that you've customized will absolutely be gone. So it deletes it. So just be very careful. If you have a lot of saved things, it will go away if you do this. So that's kind of how I can change just the main page. And then of course, on your navigation on the left-hand side, you can add windows, you can add smart lists, you can add shortcuts, all that kind of stuff in that navigation pane, which a lot of people don't realize that they can do. And then of course, once you add those shortcuts in there, that's where you can, come in here and you can right click on those depending on which one it is. And you can come down here to the shortcut properties. And this is where you can go in and you can change your function keys or add function keys to anything you've done in that navigation pane. So you can do that. All of those functionality is standard in GP forever, I'll say. Not forever, but it's been there for a really long time. So this is nothing new that I'm talking about. And then of course up here across the top, which is kind of your address bar, you can also make changes up there. So you can really do a lot of functionality or navigation changes in GP. So again, not saying it's a bad or old product because you can still do a lot of this stuff. And then, of course, in these areas where we're talking about the quick links, you'll have the pencil come up and, you can make these bigger, you can collapse them. If I do go ahead and click on that pencil, the pencil is what shows me that I can get into, adding, again, quick links. And those quick links can be, adding it from a GP window, a navigation list, a web page, whatever you might need for navigation-wise. So GP is pretty strong in this area, in my opinion. So I said it's not really, crazy, wow stuff. But, it compares to GP or to Business Central, a lot in that area. So now I'm going to hop over into the Business Central side. So now onto the Business Central side, you will see again, of course, as I was talking about, the My Settings area. So the My Settings area is actually found up there in the right-hand corner on the cog. So if you click on that little widget or cog or whatever you want to call it, I call it cog because it reminds me of like the Jetsons, Cogsdale. So you can go into My Settings, and then in this My Settings area, this is where, again, you can change roles. If you change these roles here, you don't lose personalization like you do in GP. And so I can change these roles and personalize them. And so I could have the accountant role, business manager role, sales role, whatever role I'm using, and I can have those personalized. And you can personalize, and those can be personalized across a group of people as well. So changing the date, this is where I would change the date in here. And then pretty much everything else I don't do a lot with. If I'm looking at changing some notification information, this is where I could get into my notifications. This is where I kind of say it's close to the reminders, but not 100%. But there's definitely some functionality in here to enable or disable some things that you want, or change, some of the conditions about some of these notifications. So that's kind of just a little overview of how to get in there. So in all of these areas, I'm going to go ahead and make Business Central big for just a second. So in all of these areas, because it's kind of hard to see once you get into here. So if I'm wanting to change things here, I don't have any of those little, just pick it up and drag it. So what you actually do is, and as I said, this is more of the personalization. So you can go into personalization, and you'll notice up here at the top that I get a gray bar that appears. And if I was able to add a field in any of these areas, I would be able to click Add Field. Otherwise, you'll notice as you hover over different areas, you will see that you'll have this little bitty, I call it the flag, a little red flag. So I can either move or hide this or clear the personalization. And then I can also clear the personalization for the entire everything that I personalized if I wanted to. Be careful on that, because obviously if you've made a lot of changes, you don't want to mess that up. But you'll see that in some of these areas too, I can actually hide certain links in these areas. I don't have to hide the entire pane. And you'll notice as I click through here, it does allow me to hide different things. So I could hide the entire pane, or I could hide just one particular button in that area. And then of course we get down here, this is where I was talking about some of those Business Central and my favorite accounts, my reports and Power BI, my report inbox. So there is definitely a lot more on the Business Central homepage than there is on the GP. Probably if I checked every box on the GP, there would be obviously more, but not necessarily all useful. Whereas a lot of these may be definitely a little more useful. When you're finished with the personalization, then you can just click done. And then now I'm out of the personalization mode, and I would have my page, however I would want that particular page. So that kind of gives you just, a very brief overview of kind of how to personalize it. Like I said, I have another video if you want to see how to actually get in and personalize some of the other windows. The other areas where you can go in and kind of do some things is you can go in here, you'll see there is like little carrots down in some of these areas. And I can go in here and I can set up some cues. So if I click cues, you'll see that I have, again, some more options, which is definitely really different than GP. These are pretty cool because now I can change how I want things to look in here on these particular cues. I can change the conditions. I'll make this a little bit bigger so that we can see everything. So there's a lot of things to change and personalize in this area, and that's just changing the little cue boxes. So this is pretty cool to be able to go in and change how I want things to look, whether, maybe it's a certain dollar amount on the threshold, for one customer versus another. So cues are actually really a cool place to make some big changes to things. And so anywhere that you see those little carrots, that's where you just know you can kind of click in there, and you can always do something in those. Like my favorite accounts, I can obviously manage a list off of that particular carrot. And then Power BI, if it was a Power BI, I can change reports, upload a report, just do different things on those reports. So again, just a very, very high level over kind of some of that navigation for Business Central versus GP. The last thing I want to talk about are called bookmarks. And so if you look across here at the top, you'll see that these are all considered bookmarks. And then there's also this little hamburger over here. So if I click on that, it'll take me to another page, which kind of just gives me everything that was on my other page, plus all my bookmarks just labeled out, which is over here on my home page. So just a different way to look at it if you don't like the cues. And then of course you can also go back. But if I wanted to change certain things on here because I don't need, maybe I do nothing with items, you can always go up to the tell me or the search, whatever you want to call that. And if I put in the word items, you'll notice that items appears down here. And you'll notice if I hover it over it, there's a little thing way over here to the right, this little kind of bookmark. And this shows that this is bookmarked. If I unclick that, you'll see that it is now not bookmarked. So it will remove it from my main menu, which is one of the really big things that people always wanted to do in GP. And you could do it with some things on security, but not all. So if I do that, now that bookmark is gone. So one of the really cool things is I can also change how, what appears up there at the top for my bookmark area. So I hope this gave you a little bit of information, just kind of, like I said, a little bit of comparison. I'm trying to keep these pretty short so that, if people want to just kind of get in and see just a little bit about Business Central versus GP. Again, if there's anything that you would like me to cover, just send me an email or a comment, and I will get back with you or put one together. And so the last thing I want to just kind of show is my last slide there. And so this is how you can find me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on, I have a blog. And I do blog about some of these things that I'm talking about. And I do have a YouTube channel, which I'm trying to get subscribers so I can change this ugly name, as Steve Endo always tells me I need to get everybody out there and do this. So that's why I'm putting this whole series together, just for informational for everybody, and hoping that everybody gets a little bit of information out of some of the videos that I'm posting. Well, thank you for joining.